to the Solving the Climate Crisis, Key Accomplishments, Additional Opportunities, and the Need for Continued Action. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare a recess of the committee at any time. Statements, documents, or motions must be submitted to the electronic repository to scccc.repository@mail.house.gov. And members or witnesses experiencing technical problems should inform the committee staff immediately. Before we begin the hearing today, I'd like to take a moment to reflect upon our friend, Representative Donald McEachin, whose untimely death has left a void here in Congress and our committee. Donald was a lifelong public servant. He served the people of Richmond for decades, and here in Congress, he changed the conversation on climate change in critical ways, bringing new voices into the policymaking process, listening to the needs of communities of color, tribes, low-income communities, and other vulnerable Americans. Environmental justice was at the heart of his work. He helped redefine equitable solutions for tackling the climate crisis, and I trust that his example will inspire all of us to be faithful public servants. So let's honor Representative Donald McEachin at this time with a moment of silence. Amen. Well, thanks, everybody. Today, we will examine the historic accomplishments of the 116th and 117th Congresses in tackling the climate crisis and investing in a clean energy economy and a healthy, resilient, and just America. I'll now recognize myself for a 5-minute opening statement. Well, here we are at the end of the 117th Congress, and we can take great pride in our historic accomplishments in spurring the clean energy economy and progress in solving the climate crisis. It is very important that we review our progress and then look ahead to further action. Speaker Nancy Pelosi created our Select Committee at the start of the 116th Congress in 2019 and directed us to develop the policies and innovations needed to tackle climate change. To a member, she appointed climate champions from the Democratic caucus that reflected the know-how and commitment to tackling this enormous task. And we were joined by Republican members interested in solutions. And we got right to work. We followed the science and we bridged coalitions. We channeled the energy of climate protests into meaningful policy. And we built a framework for action that charted a path to net zero. And we helped Congress turn hundreds of solutions into law. From the outset, we've been intensely focused on helping families and businesses across America create good-paying local jobs, slash energy bills, bolster domestic manufacturing, uplift disadvantaged communities, and position America to lead the world in the emerging clean energy economy. We are so proud of our progress. But there is more, much more to do. That's why we've devoted this hearing not just to historic accomplishments, but also to future action as we prepare to release an updated climate crisis action plan to spur further innovation. Our work remains urgent. Climate disasters are putting America's security and stability at serious risk and threatening our economy, our way of life, and our communities. Higher costs, harsh impacts, and greater injury and loss of life are upon us now. This summer, brutal heat waves shattered more than 7,000 daily temperature records across the nation. Persistent drought is drying up our life-giving lakes and rivers, including the vital Colorado River and many of the lakes that support local economies across the West. Wildfires and massive floods are unleashing unprecedented levels of destruction. So are climate-fueled storms like Hurricane Ian, which is now predicted to be the second costliest hurricane in history. Given the growing cost of these catastrophes, House Democrats have used the power of our majority to take bold action to solve the climate crisis. That includes the bipartisan infrastructure law, which makes communities more resilient to droughts, wildfires, storms, floods, heat waves, and other extreme weather events. And it includes our passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the largest clean energy and climate investment in U.S. history. And it puts the United States on a path to reducing heat trapping pollution by roughly 40% by 2030. Our action plan provided a vital roadmap for climate action, and we used every opportunity and every piece of legislation over the past few years to lower cost through cleaner, cheaper energy and to build safer, more resilient communities. Solving the climate crisis is hard work, but the results already are encouraging and the opportunities are exciting. Thanks to our work incentivizing clean technologies, companies in states like Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, and Alabama are racing to manufacture the batteries and technologies of the future, creating thousands of jobs along the way. Car manufacturers in states like Michigan and Ohio are investing in our workers as they build electric vehicles that will help reduce pollution. Utilities are increasingly adding cheap wind and solar into their energy mix, lowering costs for consumers and bolstering our energy independence. And we're deploying zero-emission school buses, clean postal trucks, and other clean investments that put families over polluters. Our final majority staff report that we will release next week will look at these key victories and identify new opportunities to meet the goals of our climate crisis action plan. As the 117th Congress draws to a close, it also will serve as a reminder that the fight for climate action must continue. Guided by science, rooted in justice, and powered by American workers. We have a moral obligation to our kids and future generations to continue our work. And I will add with great humility, it's been an honor and a privilege to lead such an impactful committee with an incredibly talented professional staff led by the staff director, Anna Unruh-Cohen. You all have truly made a difference. And I'm grateful to you for answering the call to service to help solve the climate crisis and give our kids a fighting chance for a livable planet. Thank you again. And at this time, I'd like to recognize the ranking member, Garrett Graves. And Garrett, I want to thank you personally and all of the Republican members for your service in this committee. And I trust in future years we will forge some bipartisan work together to help solve the climate crisis and do it in a way that lifts up all communities across this great country. Thank you so much for being my partner.
Thank you, Madam Chair.